Lamont, nice to have you on the show, man.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Let's start with this. Big, huge question mark for Arizona is who's going to be the starting quarterback tomorrow. Which way are you leaning right now?
Oh, I would go with the guy who was starting last year, Anu Solomon. He's been pretty solid throughout camp. He seems to be the one that's got the best grasp of the offense, and he should. I mean, he's started for a couple of years now. So I would expect to see him. You never know. Coach Rodriguez likes to play it everything close to the vest, but I would expect Solomon to start the game.
He had some concussions last year, but I thought he's been a pretty good quarterback the last 2 years. Why was it a competition at all? Why did Rich Rod open it up to Brandon Dawkins?
Well, if you look at the two guys, if you've seen him up close, Brandon Dawkins he's got every physical skill that's necessary, to be the starter. He's probably physically more talented, actually, than Anu Solomon. He's got a great arm. He's a big kid. He's a great runner. But Anu Solomon brings some intangibles to the table. For one, experience, and two, he just got a great feel for the game, and so he hasn't been able to surpass him thus far. But when he's been in the game, he's done some really good things. So that's why he's still there. And Solomon hasn't been perfect either. That's why there is still a competition. But nevertheless, I believe Solomon's going to be the guy.
Who is the best football player right now on Arizona's football team?
Oh man, that's hard to say. It's probably somewhere on the offensive side of the ball. They've got some weapons on the offensive side. Trey Griffey is a heck of a weapon. He's the son of Ken Griffey Jr. He's really good. Nick Wilson, he's 1,000-yard rusher consistently in the Pac-12. He's another one that I would keep an eye on. But they've got a lot of weapons on offense. So to say one is good, I would say they've got quite a few guys with a lot of speed. They've got some size. The guy you may want to take a look at is a new receiver. His name is Sean Poindexter. He's about 6'6", about 215 pounds, and he's really, really showed well in camp this year and made some plays. And I expect to see him, a lot more in the rotation this year. And on the defensive side of the ball, I would definitely say DeAndre Miller. Stud linebacker / defensive end. He's a guy that is really, really athletic, and he makes a lot of plays. He's a guy that I really expect to be a playmaker for the U of A defense this year. So keep an eye on number 32, DeAndre Miller. He's a big play player.
Kalani Sitake has been the defensive coordinator at Utah for 4 years and then Oregon State 1 year against Arizona and was not good against them, was 1-4, gave up 35 a game. Yet maybe this time he hopes that he has a little more offense to help the cause. What do you expect against another Kalani Sitake-led team against Arizona?
Well, he's a great defensive coordinator in his own right, and Arizona has a lot of respect for what he's been able to do in the Pac-12. I mean, he's been phenomenal in the Pac-12. And so I think they're all both familiar with each other. The interesting thing is that Rich Rodriguez has had success against that defense when a lot of people in our conference haven't had success against it. So there'll be some familiarity from a scheme standpoint with our offense going against theirs. But we've got the same issue with their offense. We don't know what they're going to do offensively, so they're going to have to basically try to figure it out in the first half and make some adjustments at halftime and go from there.
Follow him at Levett34 on the Twitter machine. Arizona color analyst Lamont Levett played running back at Arizona in the early 90s. He is with us on BYU Sports Nation. The defensive struggles have been well documented in Tucson and in the Phoenix metro area by plenty of local media. And Rich Rod made a major change last year, bringing in Marcel Davis from Boise State. Marcel Yates to revamp that defense, Lamont. And so when you look at it, what do you anticipate from Arizona's defense this year? Because they are in a state of transition and flux.
Yeah, I mean, I assume that there'll be some growing pains. But, from what I've seen so far, they look 100% better this year. They've gotten their best athletes on the field. They've done some shifting around to get some a better group of guys in the secondary on the field. So I fully expect them to be improved on the defensive side of the ball. So it's going to be interesting because, again, they've played things close to the vest. They haven't showed exactly what they're going to do. But they're going to be more aggressive. We know that much, and they really, really, wanted to throw everything out that they've done in the past and change it up. And they've got a new philosophy, and they've got new energy. And we're as interested as you guys are to see what they put on the field.
And BYU fans for the BYU offense as well. BYU has some playmakers, obviously returning Taysom Hill and Jamal Williams, who did not play last year. Taysom just 2 quarters or so. So what are your impressions of this BYU team, given some of the unknowns of a new coaching staff?
Yeah, from what we understand is that they're going to more of a pro set again this year, which makes a lot of sense. If you're going to run a pro style offense, the first thing you have to have is an offensive line that can handle that type of a system. And BYU traditionally has a great offensive line, and they've got some big physical wide receivers. Watch a lot of film on Jamal Williams. He's a guy that just is a hammer. And he's a very effective runner. And when Taysom Hill is just an X factor, he's every defensive coordinator's nightmare, a guy who can throw accurately and can run equally as well. And he's big. And so they present an issue for anybody when you look at the weapons that they have. And so Arizona's going to have to be extremely disciplined, very focused, and they're going to have to take some chances. They're going to have to, it's going to be a dogfight because Arizona, since Rich Rodriguez has come to town, they've had a winning season every year. Their offense has always been really powerful. But the bottom line is until they reach, they reach consistency on defense, they're going to continue to be where they are. So he's decided to go in a new direction this year, and we're all, really, really excited to see, where that goes.
I know there are a lot of BYU fans that are happy to not be seeing Scooby Wright on the other side of the ball featured on the Arizona team. Caleb Jones, another one, guys that went to the NFL draft. And so you've mentioned some of the defensive stars, but how do you defend an X factor, as you called him, like Taysom Hill?
You have to. Well, honestly, I don't think you can necessarily stop him, but you've got to create pressure on him. You can't let him, ever be comfortable in the pocket. But at the same time, when you're putting pressure on him, you have to stay in your lanes. You can't be, undisciplined and get out of your lanes and give this guy a clear pathway to break, because he has shown that he can break. He runs like a running back in the open field. So you have to be disciplined as far as your lanes on defense. When you're rushing and getting upfield, you have to make sure you keep kind of just like there's a pocket, you got to try to close that pocket on him. And, maybe even spy sometimes. Sometimes you can spy a guy like that when he's that effective and make sure you get some more speed on him. But, when you start getting into that, he's a good enough thrower that he can beat you down the field. So everybody's got to be disciplined is the name of the game. You just can't be undisciplined against a guy like that and force him to have to make great plays and not just give him things.
Should be a fantastic setup for the game in the University of Phoenix Stadium, home of the Arizona Cardinals. It's been well documented. BYU fans are doing their best to try and make it a 50-50 kind of neutral site game there in Arizona. What do you expect from that environment to open up the season?
I think it's going to be rocking, and I think I know that BYU fans are going to come out because they traditionally do. I mean, Arizona's got some history with them. They played them in the Las Vegas Bowl a few years back, and that stadium was split right down the middle, and it was a packed house. And so I fully expect to be a packed house in Phoenix. And from what I'm hearing, BYU has purchased more tickets. But we'll see. We'll see about Arizona. I've still got a lot of belief in this fan base, and they're pretty excited about their Cats. So I fully expect Tucson to come out there and represent Arizona in this Cactus kickoff.
Lamont, great stuff. It wasn't that long ago that you were on the field running the ball at opposing defenses. So I know the excitement level will be high tomorrow. Do what you can to talk Rich Rod into maybe getting a carry or two if you can.
Yeah, if he really wants to lose, he can do that. But I don't think he's into that.
Lamont, thanks for the time, man.
Hey, it's a pleasure, guys.